Hey everybody, John DePietro here with you from Candidate Boot Camp, and we're doing another case study in our digital activism training. I've got with me today Vince Perfetto from the Free State Project, and Vince is somebody else who's been through our training and leveraged a lot of the tips that he learned in class to help in his role. So Vince, why don't we start off with just quickly introducing yourself, letting everybody know what your role is um, with the Free State Project, what the Free State Project is, and sort of then we can get into talking a little bit about how digital has played a role in what you're trying to do with that organization.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here, John. I'm good. I'm glad to talk to you again. And my name is Vince Perfetto. I'm the executive director of the Free State Project. I first found out about the FSP in 2007, and then I moved to New Hampshire in 2010 from Florida. So what is the Free State Project? Quite simply, it is the world's largest migration of pro-liberty activists. So what we do is we consolidate our efforts into one small, low population state with a pre-existing pro-liberty culture. And when we consolidate our efforts, what we've noticed is we're able to win all over the place. So as thought leaders, as entrepreneurs, in politics, we're able to be successful here. Of course, we have a community outside of politics. We're very strong together, and it's great to have like-minded people all around each other, building one thing together. And so I suppose if I could just summarize it in a soundbite, it would be, if you believe in liberty, get to New Hampshire and do something. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and just a couple of things I think are worth mentioning is it's a nonpartisan, so all political persuasions are welcome. And the other aspect that I think doesn't get talked about a lot is the degree of community involvement there is, the volunteerism. It's really at the core of FSP, right? When you talk about liberty and, by definition, people are not looking to coerce other people into action. So if you're going to take that position, then you should be willing to go into your community and volunteer and help out. And we do see that a lot with people as part of that movement.
Yeah, and like you said, to your point, we're a 501c3. We're a nonprofit, educational nonprofit. So we're not a political organization. Some people who are participants in the Free State Project, they get into politics. Some don't. Some people just want to go and be in their community and, let's say, pick up some trash or help. Volunteer at, let's say, an old person's home, like a retirement home, or let's say to help out those that are less fortunate, at like a homeless shelter or something like that. So it's a really great community. Or if we just want to hang out and have a beer at the bar, or go get lunch together, go have dinner. I've been to some of those meetups where sometimes there's only like 5 or 10 of us, but usually it's like 20 to 40. I mean, like I've been to a couple where there are around 30 or 40 people just hanging out at some bar or restaurant, and it's a really great community to be a part of. So we're here for a reason, and we're also just really thankful that a lot of us were able to attend your training and learn more about how to be even more effective than we've already been.
Right. So let's talk about, some of the things that you try to accomplish online. There are a couple of sort of core missions, right? I mean, first and foremost, you're trying to build an online community. You're trying to inform people. You're trying to recruit movers. Can you talk a little bit, specifically about what are some of the tools that you're using online in order to accomplish that? And then, talk about what are some of the things that you learned that you were able to apply from the digital activism training to help you accomplish some of those goals?
Well, I guess I would say, some of the things that we learned, countless things. If I could say, one, overarching thing, and was, if I couldn't get with something specific, maybe we'll get into specifics later, but I really appreciated your professionalism, the fact that you were very even keeled, the fact that you were open to taking questions from everyone, that you're It didn't matter who it was. If somebody in the class was more experienced or less experienced, that was one of the things that I took, just your demeanor in general. It didn't matter who it was in the training. You were open to not just discussing things, but you could explain things very easily. And I think that from a broader perspective, that was one of the things that I took, kind of like looking to you as a leader, as a leadership role. So in my role at the Free State Project, it was great to be able to work with people like you, um, who were very, focused and driven. Um, some of the challenges that we've had recently, in these recent last few months, it's difficult for us to stay on message. Of course, our supporters expect us to be still pro liberty even through all of this, and so I believe iron sharpens iron, and it doesn't matter if you are some person who has 100 degrees and from all different universities and everything, and we've taken a whole bunch of classes like this and everything. I still think that there's always something that you can learn, especially in this broader topic of marketing. Even the best marketers out there, if you go to all these blogs, everybody's got their own marketing blog. Every single one of them who's honest, they'll always tell you, I'm constantly learning. You have to constantly A/B test this and that. You have to constantly learn from other marketers. And so because social media, for example, one of the things you mentioned just a moment ago was, where are we and what are we doing? How do we build our communities? And, social media it's a thing that's constantly changing. If there's one constant, it's that it's constantly changing. Every platform, they're updating their algorithms, and you have to constantly be nimble and aware of all of that. So as far as how we build our community, so not just to, stay on message and to continue to put out the not just to be pro-liberty, but to show people that we still believe in liberty even in these times. So we've been, active. Facebook is still king, Google is still king. So those are probably the two biggest platforms where we are. We're later in the year we're going to be developing some more YouTube, more of a YouTube presence, directly because of a lot of things that we learned in your class. So I would say that reaching people on Facebook is probably our the number one thing that we do. Trying to funnel them into our Facebook group, which has about 10,000 members. So we have a lot of people active there. We're just doing the best we can to reach as many people as possible on as few platforms as possible. We are spread out on multiple platforms, but I would say Facebook, YouTube, and then Google AdWords, probably the top reasons, as well as obviously SEO. SEO is probably the top way that people find us, and then from there they find us through our social media channels.
Right. So on Facebook, I know that you guys, do Facebook ads pretty regularly. Was digital activism helpful in helping you improve and expand on the performance of those ads that you were running?
Yeah, absolutely. You and I had talked a little bit before the class, but especially during the class when it came to those Facebook ads. I've had some experience with those in the past. I guess this is kind of like what I was talking about a moment ago, which is, you can pretend that you know everything about everything, but then, when you get into one of these classes, you realize, okay, I don't know about this, or I do. You helped reinforce some things that I knew or thought I knew, but then you also helped teach me some things that I didn't know that I didn't know. So I'm really thankful that you kind of ran the gamut and you covered a lot of things. And one of those things would be, regarding Facebook ads. And you helped me find new ideas for targeting people for as low of a price as possible. And targeting, you can't just open that big giant wide, you can't open a big fishing net and cast it into the entire ocean
Yeah.
and expect to catch something, right? You have to be, as targeted as possible, and not just that, but the right message, the right advertisement. So who are you targeting? And then of course, what do those people specifically want to see? And you might have an idea of what that is. Okay, try it. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else anyway. By the way, you may have been wrong the first time. you don't know until you try something else. So just constantly A/B testing things. Test this. It might even be a different font, or like in your actual ad itself, or different color on your ad, or maybe a few different words, or maybe you put some different emojis in there. And so you just really helped me focus on all of the different options that we have when it comes to Facebook ads and how to target people effectively and efficiently. You don't want to be spending $1,000 to do something when it could cost you 20.
Yeah, and I think that's key. I talk to candidates all the time, and I think everybody realizes it's pretty easy to run a Facebook ad, right? It's not rocket science. They make, and deliberately so, right? They want to make it easy for you to give them your money. So, running an ad is not difficult. But the point that I try to drive home to candidates is that if you can learn just a couple of things, a couple of basics that most non-professionals don't know, just a couple simple things. To your point, you can accomplish the same thing for $50 that somebody else would cost them $200 or $500, right? Just by understanding some of the basic principles of you know how to do some of the things that you were talking about, how to target, how to get the right message, how to test, right? Testing is really important. Test some things, find out what works, and then crank up the volume. So that's great to hear that you're getting results. It's helped you to be able to move your mission forward. So um, who are the types of people that you would recommend this training for? Who do you think would benefit from it?
I would say really anybody who wants to be efficient at genuinely connecting with their audience. So if you have an audience in mind that you think is going to hear your message well, is going to desire your message and want to hear it, um, then take this class, because you're going to learn how to be more effective, efficient, um, and diverse in your knowledge, in your understanding of everything. And if I could mention, for example, a couple things. I mean, one of the bigger things that I learned from your class would be how to segment my lists, which I kind of already knew that, but you drove it home even more. Not just why it's important, but how to make it happen, like through surveys, polls, petitions. Those sorts of things are extremely cost effective. And you really filled a lot of holes in my marketing plans. And so I guess I would just say anybody who wants to be better at what they do, somebody who, even if you're experienced, you may think that you have it all down until you take one of these classes, especially from a professional like you, John. Um, you're going to find some holes, and John's going to help you fill those holes in. So anybody who wants to be a better marketer and connect with more people in a more genuine way, those people would get the most out of a class like this.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, Vince. I appreciate your input, and thanks for sharing a little bit about what you do and some of these case studies, for other people to learn from. Greatly appreciate your time, and wish you the best with continuing to recruit people for the FSP.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you. Appreciate it.